Miami started off one of their most important weeks of the season taking on the Wizards, and while it was a lot closer than it should have been, Miami controlled the second half of the game to get a much-needed win. Who stepped up, and how did Duncan Robinson look at his return to the starting lineup? We break the game down and the weekend on today's episode of Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg, editor at allyoucanheat.com. Joining me as always, longtime NBA reporter David Ramil. However you're tuning in on YouTube, Odyssey, or your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. April 5th, we are holding a Locked On Heat watch party for the Heat's game in Houston at the Taurus in Coconut Grove. We cannot wait to meet some of you all.
Air horns.
Air horns, that's right, let's do it. Throw back some
Watch
beers,
party.
have some fun. Happy hour is going to be extended throughout the game, including 2-for-1
Just for
draft
you.
beers. 2-for-1
That's
house
for you,
liquors.
the listeners.
That's for
Yeah,
you guys.
that's amazing. Yeah,
And if you
that's how
drop our
much we
name-
care.
If you drop our name, maybe there's going to be like a special cocktail involved. It's crazy.
Ooh.
We got a lot of stuff
That's a
going
teaser.
on. Little teaser. Again, April 5th at
Big
the
week.
Taurus in Coconut Grove for Heat Rockets. That game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, late tip-off for a Friday night game. We really do hope to see as many of you there as possible, so come on through. We are recording this on a Sunday night after the Heat beat the Wizards 119-107. 2 straight wins after they beat the Trailblazers by 60 on Friday night. David, the Heat are outscoring their last 2 opponents by an average of 36 points. That's pretty good. Do you want to start with your takeaways from this game before we get to the bigger stuff from the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just kind of a very business-like approach for Miami. Weird one-game road trip, after the Friday night game. You kind of have Saturday off. You travel to Washington, a little bit of an early tip with 6 p.m. in Washington, and you're taking on a Wizards team that still has, some decent players or the possibility for the random scrub Heat killer to pop up. But Miami, they started off slow, and the Washington Wizards, to their credit, they were competitive. They had a little bit more energy. Miami looked really sloppy, a little sluggish, but eventually they retook the lead in the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then Duncan Robinson in his first game back, and I think that's the big news, if any, from this game, is that he made his return after missing several due to injury. He hit 2 3-pointers to start off the second half. Miami kind of rolled from there. Washington kind of clawed back into it later in the game, made their little run, and then Jimmy Butler took over, sealed the deal, and that was essentially it. So Miami did what they had to do. And I think that's the big takeaway, not just from Sunday's game, but also from Friday night's game against Portland. You're taking out bad teams. Well, guess what? You're supposed to beat them. And you're supposed to beat them both by double digits as they did. So I think that's a positive sign for the way Miami is trending as they take on some really tough teams with incredible implications on the Eastern Conference standings, both the New York Knicks on Tuesday, 2 days later, the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's a huge week for Miami Heat.
Yeah, you mentioned sort of the Wizards clawing back in this and it's sort of a fake little comeback, and they get the lead down to 10 points with like 4-ish minutes left. Bam finds Jimmy Butler on a backdoor cut. Terry Rozier sets this back screen. Jimmy goes by him, and the Wizards just act like they've never seen a back screen before in their entire life. And my favorite moment from that is Jordan Poole pointing to was it Duncan maybe in the corner, and like his teammates are looking at him like, hey man, you're the low man, you've got to have the closeout on this, you have to have the rim contest, and he's just pointing to Duncan like, no, I was guarding him. And it's like, dude, that's not how team basketball works. So that was my favorite part. Jordan Poole, deeply unserious. So Bam hits Jimmy, gets the layup, 12-point game. Haywood Highsmith blocking Jordan Poole on the other end, skying for that block, turns it around. Jimmy Butler gets the ball, spin, goes to the basket, gets the foul. 10-point lead turns into a 15-point lead with 3.5 minutes left. 2 minutes later, Wizards clear their bench. Game's over. So it was. You mentioned business-like. I think that's good. This is what we do know about this Heat team that has been so deeply impossible to figure out all year, is that they beat the bad teams. And I know they lost to this Wizards team. And watching this Wizards team tonight, and I know there was no Kyle Kuzma for them, and I get that. And Kyle Kuzma was a big reason why the Wizards beat them a couple weeks ago, but like Kyle Kuzma doesn't do all of that. And it was like, how did they lose to this team? I could not figure it out. It's their worst loss of the season, but it is not par for the course. This is not a Heat team that is lost to bad teams, right? You could talk about whether or not maybe some of these games should have been a little bit closer or not. Hey, guess what? It's an NBA 82 game season. Not all these games, good teams versus bad teams, it's not all going to be like 30, 60-point blowouts like it was Friday night. But they typically take care of business. And they took care of business with this one on Sunday. Jimmy Butler didn't even have to play that hard. He had a turnaround jumper in the second half. It looked like he yawned right through it. It was at the end of the shot clock, and I was just like, he's just like, I guess I'll just do it now. It was Bam Adebayo had 22 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. He was awesome. 50% shooting for him. Did miss his 2 3-pointers, and I almost clipped it and tweeted it. The second one that he missed, his last one. I'm liking how the misses are looking right now.
Yeah, no
for
doubt.
Bam, right? Like it looks like a real shot, not like a gimmick thing. Haywood Highsmith had 10 points off the bench. We're gonna get to some credit cookies later on, but yeah, over the weekend, to your bigger point, David, I agree. I know that we've been looking for a statement win from the Heat, and they do have an opportunity this week against the Knicks.
Yes.
Is going to be a big one, but you also just got to beat the bad teams. You got to beat the teams on your schedule. That's what they did this weekend.
No doubt. The statement win, it has to come this week. Like, you're taking on the Knicks, the Sixers, the Rockets on the road for one game on Friday night for our watch party, a reminder. Then another road game against the Indiana Pacers on April 7th, 2 days later. That's a huge 4-game stretch to follow up this. You
That
beat
April
the 2 bad
7th
teams.
is the biggest game of the year.
All of these are, honestly.
Sure.
Like, I mean, if
but the Pacers
you
one just
couldn't
because
have
of the
lost,
tiebreaker. After this,
no doubt.
after tonight, the Heat are tied in the loss column again with Indiana. The Pacers are 42-33, Miami 41-33, so a half game back for that 6th seed. If they beat the Pacers on April 7th, I mean, their chance, like all the basketball reference odds and all that stuff we always talk about on this, jump drastically in favor of whoever wins that game. I didn't mean to cut you off to do a schedule talk, but to your point.
No, but I think it's important because, again, like you kind of put yourself in a bad spot because you didn't win those games on the homestand when you had to. I mean, you won 2 out of 4, but I mean, that was an opportunity where you could have, not enough, as we talked about. 3-1 was the least that you could do. Unfortunately, they didn't make that mark. So now your work is cut out for you. You host 2 playoff teams in Philadelphia and New York. New York, that crowd's going to be aggressive. A lot of New York Knicks fans are going to be in Kaseya Center. It's going to be a tough crowd. And so you're going to have to put forth your best effort. And that is a really physical team that is playing at a high level, and they've got an elite player in Jalen Brunson that you need to deal with. So
61
as far as
night.
as far as these 2 games are concerned, you took care of business. That's great. I like how Miami's trending. I like some of the things that have been happening with this team. We'll be talking about the players from coming back from injury. We'll talk about Duncan Robinson as well. But more importantly, I think you just need to focus on these games ahead. And I think there's a general melange around the whole NBA in late March. Like you're kind of the teams that are out of the playoff race, they just want to go to Cancun. The teams that are in the playoff race want to be in the playoffs. They just want to kind of get it over. And I know there's a couple of teams scrapping along like Houston that want to fight for a play-in spot, et cetera. Golden State, Lakers,
but
these are teams that are still.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
And
but
Miami
very few
is one
teams. Yeah. I think that's the whole thing.
You
Miami
see the teams
needs
at the top. It's like you see Denver and Boston, just like Boston giving up games against Atlanta, and like if you want to be like this is what happens to your point at this time of year. But then that's what makes this play-in kind of thing so interesting is that there is so much at stake for sort of that middle part of each of the standings in each conference. But to your do you think that the 60-point win against Portland, which was very exciting and very satisfying for a lot of Heat fans. And then this take care of business win against the Wizards. It feels like that might be not statement wins, but convincing, business-like. I like that you keep using that term. It's a good one. It's like, does this maybe fuel okay, we're in the that was the start of the final 10-game stretch. We've got 8 games left now. And we're doing it with two wins behind our back, kind of like pushing wind in the sails.
Think so.
Yeah,
I'd like to think so. That it's a spark that you can kind of use to ignite this last few games of the regular season stretch because they are so important.
Games,
But this team has also been consistent. That's why I'm looking at the next 4 games. I really am just looking at the next 4 games as more of a statement. Like you had your opportunity with a 4-game homestand that didn't pan out. Now you've got this next 4-game stretch. Could really define exactly how the rest of the season plays out. So Miami does have something to play for. These games are important. I'm curious to see how they respond against the Knicks on Tuesday.
Credit cookies.
I'm excited.
Oh my God, Heat Knicks.
Oof.
I mean, let's go, man. This is gonna feel big. The Knicks have a lot going on too. They've got to hold on to their place in the standings. They're 44-29. They're tied right now with Cleveland at 45-30. third and fourth. Right now, the Knicks have the third place, but they've got a lot going on too because they would much rather be 3 than 4 because of everything, the way that the brackets play out. So, credit cookies is next.
Today's show is brought to you by the #1 fantasy sports app in America with more than 3 million members. That's Prize Picks. What's Prize Picks? Well, it's daily fantasy sports made easy. And why is it so easy? Because it's just you versus the numbers. You're not taking on professionals. You're not taking on sharks. You're not taking on anyone. It's just you versus the projected stats. You pick more than or less than the stats on 2 or more players, and you just watch the winnings roll in. And it's so easy to make an entry. It's really simple. It's 60 seconds or less. That's how simple it is. You make your entry, bam. You just watch the money roll in. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. And right now, if you go to prizepicks.com and use download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA, you can use the first deposit match of up to $100. That's if you download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's prizepicks.com, or download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button to like the video. Make sure you subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think about the Heat's dominant weekend. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Speaking of can't-miss analysis, David, some people would disagree with my analysis from last week, namely Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro calling me an idiot.
What?
Or not really calling me an idiot, but
just not disagreeing with the notion that you're an idiot.
Sure,
which is just
maybe even liking the notion that I might be an idiot. Well, I'm going to respond to Tyler Herro later on in the show. But it's a Miami Heat win, which means it's time to get in the kitchen and whip up some credit cookies. David, who's getting cookies for today's game?
Very business-like cookies, by the way. I mean, this is just like, you just took
what
out
is a business-like cookie?
You just take out the cookie dough, you just kind of cut it into misshapen, shapes and forms and whatever. You just is it a circle? Is it a lump? I don't care. It's just put it in.
Just take
the
it out of
oven,
the pre-made tubes. Just like, all right, boom, it's already cut. Just put it on the pan. Let's go. Or how?
There you go.
Do you put cookies in pans?
Cookie-like.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, you know what? I think we're going to start off with Terry Rozier. We haven't mentioned his name at all, but I think he was sensational tonight. Really great performance. The offense, again, still hit or miss, but that's who Terry is, and that's fine. On games like today, you really see the impressive showing. The step-back jumper, 11 of 19 from the floor, finished with 27 points, also distributing, also playmaking. We talked about it. And Friday's show with Amy Adebayo, how important Terry Rozier is for this stretch run and in the playoffs. And I think tonight we saw exactly how he could make a positive impact. So I've got 4 credit cookies going to Terry. I've also got 2 to Jimmy and 2 to Bam. I thought Bam was more impactful, and then I rechecked the stats at the end of the game, and I got to be honest with you, I think Jimmy was a lot closer to Bam in terms of that. And not only did Jimmy have a big game late in the stretch, late in the game to kind of pick up Miami as they were kind of pulling away, but I the numbers were fine. I think they both kind of just were like, oh, it's the Wizards. Like Bam dominated. There were moments there where he was like dunking on people. He was just taking his time to just, oh, can I dunk now? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dunk all over you. Whether it was Marvin Bagley or Denny Avdija or whoever was out there, it was just dunk feasting on everybody. So they both had good games. They both get 2 cookies apiece. And then aside from that, I've got 1 cookie for Nikola Jovic and 1 for Haywood Highsmith, the role players. I think they both stepped up in their own respective ways. I keep saying that about Nikola, like the defense has improved. Like we saw a block shot. We saw him help. We saw him kind of move and adjust and make transitions there. Like these are great incremental steps that he's taking over the course of the season. Like you rarely see. I think we saw this with Duncan maybe a couple of years ago where he was like, oh, okay, you know what? He's not as bad. We saw this with Tyler even, like they're not as bad as they had been. And when you're looking for growth from these players that are complementary to what Jimmy and Bam and eventually, hopefully Tyler is going to be able to do, this is what you need. So I like his overall game. He hit a big three-pointer, big three-pointers actually to help Miami keep pace and pull ahead. And Haywood Highsmith, he wasn't shooting as accurately as he had in the past few games. Unfortunately, just 2 of 6 overall from three-point range, but big shots from him, pulling down rebounds, igniting the fast break, getting that big block that you mentioned. Great defense. A couple weeks ago, we were a little dubious about his place in the rotation, but I think games like this and over the last few where he's been hitting those three-pointers and has become like a marksman almost, I wonder whether or not he might be part of the playoff rotation moving forward. I know you still have to incorporate Tyler if and when he does return. Kevin Love, who we'll talk about a little bit later, he's going to be playing. I don't know. I think you just have to find minutes for a guy like Haywood.
You're right. I want to make one point on Terry Rozier before we get back to Haywood Highsmith because it's a great conversation that we do need to have at this point. But Terry Rozier, the step back three-pointer is such a weapon for him. It is something that when have the Heat ever had a guy with the step back? Nobody. I can't think of anybody. Like the closest thing was Dwayne Wade sometimes tried it. Nobody else really did it. Like it was not a Goran Dragic thing. I don't really remember. Like Deion Waiters was more of like a pull-up guy. He was never really stepping back. Even Rozier stepping back into some two-pointers from the foul line in this game. Like it was just he's got it, And you talk to people around the team, and they always will point to the fact that he can make something out of nothing. And it's not just the step back, but boy, is that a big part of it. He had an efficient night too. I know that you already mentioned that the shooting comes and goes, but Rozier 11 of 19 tonight. Was big in that second quarter when they made that stretch. Finished with 27 points. He was a plus 20, second on the team behind only Nikola Jovic, who you already gave a credit cookie to, who was plus 22 in that game. Let's do the Haywood Highsmith thing because it's worth exploring here. His three-point shot is the biggest difference right now. He went 2 for 6 tonight. He was 13 of 14 in the 3 games before going into this one. So, he's like Bam. We talked about Bam after he had made like a million of his last 1,000,001 three-pointers, and it's like he's not going to shoot 80% from 3 for the rest of his career, or regression is happening. Maybe it happened tonight where he went 0 for 2. A regression is going to happen with Haywood, but he's also shooting now probably 38 or 39% from three-point range all year. I think he came into the game shooting like 37-something%. So it's a small sample, but the sample is starting to increase lately, like over the last week and a half. And so with this plus the defense, and I mean, he had a great cut in the game tonight. Like he's doing stuff off the ball. He's a willing screen setter that matters. The baseline cut has been there for a long time with him. That block was such a show of athleticism that it's like, I kind of want to explore that a little bit more and see what that looks like maybe on the offensive end with some lobs and things like that, which we know Rozier the lob game is like doubled in frequency with the Heat since Rozier got there. So whose place in the rotation does he take if we're talking about a playoff rotation? We're talking Miami could probably go 8 or 9 deep. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. Like, it's probably not Caleb Martin's or Jaime's spot, but maybe it is. Like, is he a better option than Jaime at this point, who's in a little bit of a rookie funk?
That's my likeliest option. I think Caleb is just too proven, and I obviously Spo is going to continue to roll out with Caleb, and until unless he's hurt or just the wheels completely fall off for some reason with his performance. So I think it's Jaime because again, you could always just chalk it up to rookie in the playoffs for the first time, and if he falters defensively, if he has a couple of miscues where he's out of place or loses his guy, and he's not, his confidence falters as a result, I think you could see that switch. And look, you'll see them both kind of play off each other. I could see, Jaime provides a spark because he pushes the ball, he gets a rebound, he's taller, he's a little bit longer in terms of his overall ability to guard other players. But Haywood is, smaller though he might be, stouter. So they both bring different things defensively, and it's just.
I mean, Highsmith is the much better defender. He's way more versatile. And that's why I think that Spo might, if this 3-point shot, I mean, the 3-point shot for Haywood is hitting more frequently than Jaime right now, and
I don't think he's going to replace him outright, but I could see him cutting into his minutes significantly.
Yeah, I like in the first round of the playoffs is so much different than the second and third round and stuff like that, where you start going from like a 9 or 10 person rotation to 7 or 8, once you get to the finals. And so who knows how far the Heat actually get. But, interestingly enough, like Duncan Robinson comes back, Patty Mills, who had started all these games with Duncan and Herro out, not playing at all. But then you get minutes for DeLon Wright in this game too. And so Like Spoelstra is ready to go with whoever is earning the minutes. And so Haywood Highsmith is making a strong case. So we'll see what happens with
I want to
that.
ask him that. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask about that. Because it's just, I know it's juggling everything with the injury and players coming back and all that, but it's like at some point, like, could he go 11 deep in a playoff rotation? I mean,
11
he
seems
has done it.
strong. I don't think you need to go 11. I mean, 10 would be the max. Who's the 11th
I mean,
guy?
is DeLon Wright going to get any minutes
Nah.
during the playoffs? Is Patty Mills going to get any minutes in the playoffs?
Absolutely not. No, I think if we don't see Patty Mills again for the rest of the season, that would probably be a good thing.
Ooh, that's rough.
I mean, that would.
I
Means
get
the
it.
team's
I get
healthy,
it, but it's
you know. Like, and that's
No,
the other
it-
thing too. It's can you depend on this team to be healthy? And maybe the answer is no. And if it's not, that opens the door for Jaime and Haywood and Caleb and all these guys, DeLon Wright potentially, to play. But you would rather obviously be healthy. And if this team is healthy, you've got Terry Rozier, Tyler Herro, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Kevin Love. Those guys are playing. I think Nikola Jovic is playing.
I think so too.
I think we're there. And so, and I think I said Caleb already. So that leaves like Jaime, Haywood, DeLon Wright. I mean, those are 8 guys.
11.
I mean, no, I'm talking about those are 8 guys. And then with Caleb, Haywood, DeLon Wright, Thomas Bryant potentially. Now, those are like 4 more guys for 1 to 2 more rotation spots. And so maybe it'll be a matchup based thing. You know, I think that's possible too.
It's interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Does Tyler Herro really think I'm an idiot? We'll talk about that next year on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. That's your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as a Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend of baseball that just passed, go Marlins, unfortunately not really, or the college basketball tournament, which has been really exciting, men's and women's, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands like the Locked On Podcast Network and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest, including March Madness, the NBA playoff race, Major League Baseball kicking off, and so much more. Great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos, whatever you're looking for, you can find it all on Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. That's Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. We'll be right back.
Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. April 5th, watch party at the Taurus in Coconut Grove. Game starts at 8 p.m. Happy hour will be extended throughout the game. 2-for-1 draft beers, 2-for-1 well drinks. Can't wait to meet
Tyler
and see
Herro
you
will be
guys
there.
Tyler Herro will probably not be there. Since the Heat are playing that night. All right, so for those, all right, let's just catch everybody up right now. So last week, Tyler Herro had that tweet responding to Shams' report that he had not been playing for a while and was not expected to come back anytime soon. Tyler Herro responded to that, saying that's cap, and then saying, I just had a great workout, but yeah, I ain't coming back no time soon. And then I got on here and questioned, and that was later reported to be sarcasm. I came on here and questioned whether or not...
Was it reported to be sarcasm? Is that a report?
I guess. I mean, when the beat reporters are quote tweeting it and saying, to clarify, this
But we
is
talked about it that
sarcasm.
day. And we talked about that day that like his agent was like, no, guys, he's just fooling. It's just fooling. Because again, the use of the double negative, the use of the quote unquote sarcasm threw everybody off. Like we talked about this. I know for whatever reason you were branded the idiot, and we'll talk about that. But I think we both questioned both our viewership and listening audience and Tyler Herro, the understanding of what sarcasm is. I don't think it's quite clear. I'm sorry. I just that tweet from Tyler kind of shows that maybe he's not fully aware of what sarcasm might be.
Maybe. I mean, it's not even him saying it was sarcastic, though. It's like other people around him saying it's sarcastic. And so I don't...
Playful,
look,
maybe?
If he was... I'm not here to... my brain is so broken with this team and the injuries that I don't even know what to think anymore. So I got on here and started saying, like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist and all these things. And I kind of sounded like I re-listened to the episode, David, on look, if Tyler Herro was being sarcastic, great. I mean, he was working out later that day. There's still no timetable with him, and I still stand by the fact that, like, is he going to play again? It would be nice to have an idea from this team that has not been able to tell us anything, and maybe they don't know, but it's also would be they haven't told us anything about any injury all season long, and so this is why my brain is broken. And so here's the clip. This is me talking about plan A and plan B and reason D and all this stuff. In the void of actual information or a timeline of any kind, we are left to our own devices, and internet sleuths are going to do the sleuthing. And that's just what's going to happen here. And one tweet from Tyler Herro is going to be taken into some kind of context, whether it's out of context, in the wrong context, or whatever. That to me did not look like sarcasm. I don't believe it to be sarcasm. And whatever the reason behind it is again left up to interpretation by anybody who reads it. And so we're not like reckless on this show. We're pretty, I feel like, level-headed when it comes to this stuff.
Sure.
But I think it's also fair to say, give us something real here. Provide some real information, because in the void of real information, this is going to come flooding in. And I don't feel bad about it at all, because I do think obviously the injury is reason A. That's why he is out. But I think there's a reason B, and I don't know what reason B is. So that's me talking about reason A and reason B. Some clips, we posted them, and people started talking about the show. And somebody had an opinion about it, said that Wes is an idiot. Tyler Herro, on his Twitter account, liked the tweet saying that I'm an idiot. So I'm going to have a conversation, I think, with Tyler about that. But I don't blame him. I understand that he's just the one. Like, do I think that the tweet was a little silly? Yeah, I think the tweet was kind of silly. He's saying that he's not coming, like, sarcastically, evidently, saying, yeah, I'm not coming back anytime soon. But yeah, I just had a great workout, which I guess was the sense of the sarcasm. Like, here's me having great workouts, but yeah, you're right, I'm not coming back anytime soon. But like, we don't know if you're coming back anytime soon because there's no timeline. And so that's why I'm saying, like, my brain is so broken with this freaking team. So if I offended anybody, I apologize. I do think I sound like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, like the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia putting the things together, saying, here's reason A, here's reason B, why Tyler Herro isn't in the lineup right now. But it does appear that he's at least coming back to a return or nearing a return here, because now he's at least practicing. So I still have no idea.
He's on the practice court.
He's on the practice court. We still have no idea when he'll be back, if he'll be back. I'm so over trying to figure out the injuries with this team. I know it's my job. I know I'm supposed to try, but my brain is broken, David.
I don't blame you, Wes. I mean, honestly though, but you're as a journalist, you're supposed to be held to a higher standard. I feel like you've let Tyler down, you've let the team down, you've let the fans down. I'm sorry. I've got to agree with the whole idiot take there. I don't know what's gone into you lately. Pulling out these conspiracies, your big string board here. You're calling me up the other night saying, do you have any red yarn for some reason? I have no idea. Do you have an extra cork board? I don't know what's going on. You've gone too far, my friend. You got to just pull it back a little bit. I know the season's breaking everybody at this point, but guess what? There's brighter days ahead. That's all you have to look forward to. But you know what? We'll see how it plays out. I think you can tone it down a little bit because you've just gone too far off the deep end, and look forward to Tyler's eventual return, whenever that might be. Who knows? At this point, like you said,
who owes who an apology? Do I owe Tyler an apology, or does he owe me an apology?
I don't think either of you. I think neither of you are going to speak about the subject at all, to be honest with you.
I'm going to bring up the tweet. I'm going to show it to him in the locker room.
You're going to go in the locker room in a scrum and be like, "Hey, why'd you like calling me
never
an idiot?"
in a scrum.
Okay, I was wondering. I'm like, what?
Professional.
Okay, I guess if you sidle up to him and be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Should I get one of those rabbit hats that he wears and just be like, "Come on, would an idiot wear this?"
That's not exactly helping your case either, but I don't know. Like with him, he might be like, "Yo, that's hot, that's fresh." I don't know.
Man, I'm sorry. I should never called you an idiot. I wasn't familiar.
I wasn't familiar with your game.
Yeah, there it is. All right, very good. Tyler Herro, are you coming back? Who knows? Thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on your podcast app. As a reminder, the watch party is on April 5th at the Taurus in Coconut Grove. Heat, Rockets. Game starts 8 p.m. Half off, or not half off, 2-for-1 draft beers, 2-for-1 well drinks. We cannot wait to see you there. This has been Locked On Heat. We're going to be back on Monday or Tuesday with a different show. Tuesday night recap, Thursday night recap, shows all in between. Thanks for listening.